Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Ottawa Valley Vintage Motorcycles. Today we're going to change this old Michelin tire off of this bike. It's getting a little flat, a little bit of a flat spot here. We're going to change the front and rear tires, and we're going to put these new Pirellis on here. These are the nice new Supercorsa V4s. So we're going to do the balance beads. So stay tuned, and you'll see how we balance the tires with balance beads. So first up, before we even put the bike on the stand, we're gonna have to crack these bolts. It makes it easier when the bike has got some weight on it. So we're just gonna pull off these pins, these cotter pins, get those out, crack the wheel nut, and then we'll get her up on the race stand. So I just use a pair of side cutters. Just straighten that out like that. You have to get on here. You just pry it up like so. We're going to put a new one in, so it doesn't matter if we damage this one a little bit. There we go. Now we can crack that nut, big castle nut. Next up, get that on there. Try to keep it away from the swing arm because you can scratch it real easy. There we go. We'll just spin that off. I like to leave it out a little bit because I'm going to be tapping on it to get it out, so we'll just leave it like that. Okay, we got the wheel up off the ground with the race stand. Now we just have to loosen off it's like a lock nut right there. This is how you adjust your chain. So I'll loosen that off, and then I'll turn that in, and that'll take a little pressure off the rear axle. We can slip that out. Got one on both sides. So just a 12mm wrench, get in there, loosen that off. And now that that's loose, you can turn this in. And that loosens off the pressure. Now we'll go around and do the other side. You can see just by loosening that off how much it loosened off the chain, and that's what's supposed to happen. Just going to adjust this a little bit. So we're just going to loosen this side off. There we go. There, now we should be able to drive that axle out. I like to use a rubber mallet, and I like to keep the castle nut on because you don't want to damage the threads on that axle. Just a couple of taps. See, it's already starting to come off. You see how it's coming out on this side here. There we go. Now we'll just remove that, and we'll be able to wiggle this out. Not sure if I can do this with one hand, so I'm going to put my foot underneath the tire, and we'll just wiggle this out. There we go. Set that down. There's the spacer. Now we'll pull off the chain, and we'll take off, pull the wheel out. Pull the brake caliper out. set it out of the way there like that. And then the wheel just comes out like so. There she is. So I'm just going to slip this back in because I don't like to keep pressure on the brake lines. Here we go. Perfect. We'll give this axle a little cleanup. Okay, so I like to just pull off these, the sprocket. It's just a cush drive in behind there. Bearing feels good, but we're going to put some grease in there. Okay, so let's get this wheel and tire over to my tire shop, and we'll pull the rubber off. All right, so here we are, my no-mar machine. So this machine is really good for not marring the wheels on these sport bikes. So we're going to start by taking the Schrader valve out and let all the air out. We'll break this bead and we'll peel the rubber off. The valve cap off. Then I use this little tool here. Which goes in here, gets on it, and then you start twisting it out. You hear the air starting to come out. I take them all the way out. You see, this one's designed to have balance beads in it already. That's why it's like that. Okay, now so for breaking this bead, you see these pieces here? It's not metal, so it doesn't damage the rim. So you just basically put it on like that and just work your way around. You see her peeling off there. And just rotate it around. And we'll just keep working it like that until we get that bead completely broke all the way around. Okay, I just worked my way all the way around. I'm back to where we started. And I'm gonna just do one final little crack here. And then we're gonna flip the tire upside down, or around the other way. There we go. So the bead's broken on that side, so now we're just gonna flip her over and do the other side. Okay, so we're on the other side here now. And we'll just work our way around on this side. Next up, I just put these in so it leaves these the rim open. So when I flip it over, I can hook it on to the machine. Okay, I got her flipped over. And you can see how these are keeping the space open. So that way I can fit these little spools in here and tighten these down all the way around. Kind of hard to see in there, but we'll tighten these up, and then that'll hold the wheel in place. And those spools, they're made out of like a Teflon, so it doesn't damage the rim. Okay, so next step, we'll put a little bit of tire soap on here. That'll just help peel her off. Okay, so next up, we got to put this down inside your tire. So it's like a Teflon piece here, so it's not going to damage, But notice how it's got those flat spots on there. So you got to push it down like this. And once it's behind the tire, turn it that way so it locks it in. And then you take the whole thing and push it over like that. Okay, so I got it in and over. And just laying down there like that with that shaft up. Now we'll bring this over and drop this down here. So now I got that bar down there, secure and ready to pull on this. I'm gonna move the machine out a little bit so I have a little more space. I'm not gonna be able to do this with one hand, but I'm just gonna give you the idea. Pull it up like that and then start to pull it over. See, I started it, got it going, and it's just a matter of, now I'm doing this with one hand. How easy that is. Now we got to take this, put it down inside, and do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, so I moved that arm out of the way. I'm not sure I could do this with one hand, but see how now the top part is off, so we can just lift it up like that. And we can take this piece. We're going to be able to go in here and go down and hook it, but I'm going to need two hands for that. See how we got it under there? And look, those are the balance beads. You can see them. So now we'll pull this arm back over, put it in the center, and we'll be able to spin this off. Okay, got the arm back down. I should be able to literally do this with one hand. One hand. Just like that. Tires off the rim. So I'm going to pull that wheel back off and give it a nice little cleanup. It's easier to clean it when the tire's off. So I'm going to clean this up. And there's your balance beads right there. Let's see. So we'll weigh out some new balance beads and get the new tire on after this is cleaned up. Okay, so I'm about to put the balance beads, weigh them out for the ZX6R. We're changing the tires on them, and it recommends for a tire, rear tire, that is 130 millimeter to 240 millimeter, to put about 2 ounces of beads in, and for the front tire, which is a 120, about put 1 ounce of beads in. So I got a little scale here. I just took the old tire and I pulled all the beads out, and I'm gonna weigh those just to see how much was in it before, just to give me a reference. I did lose a little bit when I was taking the tire off, so I don't expect it to be an exact measurement, but I just want to see in the ballpark what they had in it before. So let's open up this pack and see what we got here. It's by Conteract. I've used these before, they're pretty good. So it comes pre-weighed. It's a 3 ounce. And there's a 2 ounce. So I only need 2 ounces for the rear tire and 1 ounce for the back. So we'll have to weigh out an ounce. All right, so also in the kit included is this little tube. You just put it on here. It just makes it easier to go into the valve stem if that's the way you're going to do it. I'm going to go into the sidewall, but we got the new Schrader valves here. This bike already has Schrader valves in it for balance beads, but I'll put these new ones in. Always good to have new stuff in there. We'll keep the old ones as spares. So stay with me and we'll do some weighing here. I have a calibration here. It's a 50 grams. I just zeroed it on grams. So you see the scale is bang on. So these are the beads from the old tire. You can see how dark they are. It's just when they're rolling around inside the tire, just some of the black rubber discolors them, because this is what they look like when they're new, nice and white. This is all normal. So I'll put it in there, and what I'm going to do is take off this. This is a scale that I use for weighing gunpowder when making ammunition. Okay, so I just set it to ounces, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bag on here, and then we're going to zero the bag. And then we're going to put the beads in here, and so that'll just weigh the contents of the bag. Okay, so I dumped them all in there. So we got 2.68. So it was actually too many. That's more for a 240 tire. Let's have a look here. Rear tire, yeah, so 250 to 360. So there's probably too many in there from before. So we're going to go with the recommended amount. We're going to put 2 in there, 2 ounces. So what you can do if you don't have a scale like I do, you can take the 2-ounce bottle, try to level it out. And mark it where the 2 ounces are. Okay, so I just marked it at the 2-ounce mark, because not everybody's going to have a scale like I do. So then what you can do is take your measurement with your caliper, and I'm getting about 1 inch 650 thou. So divide that by 2, and you can put a line right there, and that'll give you a 1 ounce. Oops, sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't videoing on the surface here. Okay, so you take your 1 inch 650 thou, divide it by 2, and then measure up and make your next line here. That'll give you 1 ounce of balance beads in here. So in case you don't have a scale, you can do it by volume. The scale is much more accurate, but this will get you pretty close. Okay, so now I've taken my halfway mark, which was 825 thou, and I made another mark there, and I just marked them 2 ounce and 1 ounce. And just simple measurement with the caliper. I just locked it in at 825 and made a little mark there. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour out 1 ounce and weigh it and see how good our volume scale is that we marked off here. Okay, so I'm going to weigh them into this. So I'll zero that. Take that off. Now we'll pour in 1 ounce. There's 1 ounce. So let's have a look. So you can see it works pretty good. So if you don't have a digital scale and you have to weigh by volume, that's the way to do it. Just dump it out into a container until you get down to your 1 ounce, and then now you've got enough to do whatever measurement that you require for your bike. Okay, so I've dumped out the that 1 ounce that we measured up, and let's take the remainder and pour it in here, and this will tell us how accurate the measurement was from the manufacturer. So we're way over 1 ounce here. So I would say the manufacturer is weighing by volume and not by weight, because we're way over here. Okay, we're going to zero that, and now we're going to put all of the beads back in and get a measurement on what they say is 2 ounces. So I got it filled back up, put all the beads back in, the 2 ounce mark, zeroed the plastic container. So now when I put that on, it's just measuring the internals. Got over 2 ounces in here, 2.259. So they're a little heavy on their weight. I just zeroed the scale. Let's just try their 3 ounce. Now we're weighing the bag and all, so you can subtract a little bit for the bag, but we're way over on it too. 3.35. Okay, so while I got the tire off, before I put the new beads in and the new tire on, I'm just going to clean this tire up a little bit, or this wheel up a little bit. It's a little bit dirty. It just makes it a little easier to clean up when the tire is off. So we'll get this cleaned up, and then we'll get that new Pirelli mounted. You see it's a little easier to get into these little spaces when the tire's off. Just makes it easier to maneuver around and stuff. Get it all cleaned up real good. Not getting any oil on the rotor, just in the back there. All right, I got this rim cleaned up pretty nice here now. I noticed a few scratch marks on it. Looks like probably at some point this bike probably had wheel weights on it, and when somebody was taking them off, looks like they scraped them. So I'll just take my marker and touch this up a little bit for them. Looks a little better. It's not perfect, but it doesn't bring your eye right to it. There we go. Okay, so we got the wheel mounted back into our machine, our Nomar machine, so it won't get scratched. Got the spools all tightened down. So she's on there nice and tight. Now, before we get started, we need to make sure we got the right direction. So the rotor's here, so the direction is going to be going this way. So we look for the directional marks on the tire, and they're right here, rotation that way. So the tire is going to be in the right direction. So we'll get some grease on here, some special tire soap, and drop the first part down and get her on. Okay, so I got the tire on. Now I just re-broke the bead. So now I'm just going to peel back the tire a little bit here so I can put the balance beads in. There we go. Now I got a little opening here. I can pull my balance beads in. So I have 2 ounces weighed out. Here we go. So now we'll put some air in there and we'll put the Schrader valve in, and we'll check it on the balancer, make sure she's good. Okay, we got the balance beads put in. Now we're going to put in a new special Schrader valve that keeps the beads from coming up when you and plugging up in here when you go to put air in your tire and whatnot. The kit comes with a little tool to insert them. As you put a little bit of spit on it, helps seal it a little bit. Goes in this way. And there's a little kind of an opening there, like a slot. Just put it in and seat it. Screw it in like you would in a regular screw. Snug it down. And now we'll add some air. She's not quite seated, so we're going to get a little bit of a pop out of this. It's a good idea, because there's balance beads in there, to put on some sort of safety glasses. Because if anything goes pop, the beads could come flying out and take your eye out. So I got some safety glasses on. Because she's not seated very well, I'm going to have to bounce it a bit. It's coming. Still see she's a little bit open here. That's what you want. Nice. We'll check the air pressure and see where we're at. Okay, so I got a digital gauge here. So we're at 39. I'm going to drop it down to about 35 for him. And he can set it for whatever conditions are outside. You may want to run a little lower pressure. $35, so we'll leave it there. And we'll put in, it came with new caps. Put that on. There we go. Put it on the balancer and see how it balances with those beads in there. Okay, so I have the wheel assembly set up on my balancer. We're going to use the valve stem as our reference point. So we'll just set it, say there, at about 3 o'clock. Let's spin it, spin that wheel, and we'll see where it stops. So we want it to stop randomly at different spots, which would indicate that it's perfectly balanced. So it stopped down around 4 o'clock. So we'll try it again. About 6:30, 7 o'clock. So it is stopping randomly at different places. So we can conclude that this is balanced. And at 9 o'clock. So that's good. This wheel is ready to go back on the bike. I'll put a little extra grease in the bearings and axle, and we'll get her back on. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put the wheel back on. I got it into position. Just gonna slip the chain over like this. Got that spacer on right there. I got everything greased up. Now the spacer has got to go in here, like so. I got the caliper back into its slot. Can't really see it, but it's down in there. Brake pads are spread open. So now I just have to lift the wheel up into the brake pads, and we'll get the axle started in here. I got a light film on there right now, and we'll get that pushed in there and torqued down and the chain tightened up. Okay, so I just lifted it up. I got the rotor into the caliper between the brake pads. The spacer's in properly. This has got to go. You can see where the adjuster nut for the chain has been rubbing, so that's got to go this way when it goes on. And that'll be turned. Chain still on, and the other spacer's there. So it's just a matter of driving this home here now. Should never have to force anything, just a little light tap. And now we'll put this one on this side here. So once again, those are the adjusting marks, and that's where the adjuster was hitting. So it's got to go on like this. So we'll get that into place. Okay, so it's just a matter of pushing this in. So I'll just relieve a little pressure here by pushing the wheel this way, and that should go on. There we go. We'll get that lined up evenly on both sides, and we'll adjust our chain tension. Like right now, obviously that's loose because I have it loosened right off. A little rust spots on the chain here. Give her a little cleanup on here. chain all nice and clean. Put that washer on. Put that nut on. We're not going to go tight with this yet. Going to start adjusting the chain and then torque this down. And we'll get a new cotter pin for here. I'm not going to put the old one back in. Okay, just going to keep this nice and loose here. I'm going to start this around 3. So I'm going to pull that little notch there so it lines up with 3, and then I'll start to tighten up our chain. So this is a 12mm wrench. As I'm turning this, you'll start to see that bottom notch come over and line up with this. You can also watch here, you'll see as I'm turning this, you'll see the chain start to tighten up. See it's starting to come up as I'm getting closer to the 3 mark. Watch again. See it's coming up, getting tighter, almost at the 3. So almost at 3. That's where I'm going to go set the other one, and we'll see what kind of tension we have. So here's the other side, and you see this is getting closer to the 4 mark. So this side's actually back too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up the other side a little bit, but I don't think we're going to get as far as 3 3/4. But I'll start to turn it, and we'll check the tension and see where we're at. I may have to loosen this side off a bit. Okay, so I tightened this one up a bit more. I'm almost at the 3 mark. I have nice tension on the chain, but that other side is too far, so I'm gonna have to back the other side off a bit. So what I need to do is, see how there's play here? I need to loosen this, or tighten this screw in a bit more, this bolt, so that I'm past the 3 mark, and then I can start taking the tension, putting tension on it. See, I'm still past 3. Getting there. This one's up against the swing arm now, so I need to loosen that off a little bit and tighten this one down a bit. And now I got lots of room to swing it. Now I can turn this one in a few more turns. There, that's almost where the other one is. So now I'm going to snug that up and then put tension on it. So now I'm locking this into place. And you can see our lines now just before the 3 mark. And this side here is lined up right at the 3 mark. So that means I can tighten up the other side just a tad more, and it'll give me a little bit better tension here, but we're pretty good. Because right now we're sitting up in the air. We'll see how this sits when it's on the ground, but it should be good. So I just locked this down with two 12mm wrenches. So it's locked into place. Now we're going to loosen off the other side and just snug it so that it's right at 3 like this one here is. See how this one's right at 3. The other one's slightly on the other side of 3, so we're going to bring it up perfectly. Okay, so I just loosened this back off. You see the bottom line, it's just a little bit on this side of that top line. So I'm going to just back this bolt out a tiny bit. I'm just going to take this off for a second, it's in my way. So we're just trying to bring that level. There we go. Nice and level. Maybe one more little tiny bit. There we go. Now we'll tighten our lock screw back down and torque our axle. There, so I just locked this back down now. Okay, so before I torque it, I like to give her a few whacks with a rubber mallet to make sure that it's seating in there okay. And then we'll come over here and make sure there's no spaces. Looks good. Okay, so the torque spec on this rear axle is 93.7 foot-pounds. So we'll just set our torque wrench to that. And it is a 32 millimeter socket that goes on there. So we'll get this dialed in and we'll get her torqued down. Okay, so I got it set at 93.7 foot-pounds. We'll get our socket on there and we'll start tightening this down until we hear the clicks. Proper spec. Now the only thing left to do is to put a cotter pin in here, brand new one, and she's done. Brand new cotter pin. I usually put these in with side cutters, but I misplaced my side cutters, so I'm just going to use these guys here for now. There we go. So now the axle nut can't come loose. It's always a good idea once you've installed a new wheel or a new tire. You've had the caliper off, give the brake a few pumps, and make sure the pads are coming back and everything's working good. So there it is, the Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa V4, all installed, looking great. So we'll test these tires out once we get the front one installed. But I'm going to stop this video, and if you want to see the front one being installed, please like and subscribe, and we'll have that video up next.